All right, we're discussing subject-verb agreement. Whenever we have a singular subject in a sentence, we need to take a singular verb. Whenever we have a plural subject, we need a plural verb. But first, we have to correctly identify the subject and the verb in a sentence before we can determine whether the subject is singular or plural. So I've got a couple of examples looking at a couple of different rules. And now think back to the subjects and verbs lesson earlier in the module. What's the first thing we need to do before we even look for the subject and verb? That's right, we need to cross out any prepositional phrases because the subject of the sentence can never be part of a prepositional phrase. So let's identify any prepositional phrases, cross them out, then identify the subject and verb in the sentence. Then we can determine whether the subject is singular or plural, and then pick which verb matches that singular or plural subject. All right, so let's get started. The list of books for my British literature class is or are posted on the school website. Now remember, sometimes we can have words come between the subject and the verb, which is why it is so important to cross out any prepositional phrases that might come between them. So, do we see any prepositional phrases here? Well, I see the word of is a preposition, so of books is a prepositional phrase. I see for is a preposition, for my British literature class, and on is a preposition, on the school website is a prepositional phrase. If you're not easily identifying those prepositions, make sure you're studying that handout with the list of the most common prepositions, or at the very least, keep that list handy as you're working through these exercises. All right, so what does that leave us with? The list is or are posted. That's all we're left with. So where's the subject? List is our subject. Is list singular or plural? Well, list is singular. So since the subject is singular, we need the singular form of the verb, which is. Now you can see why we need to eliminate any words that come between the subject and the verb, because we could assume that it needs to match books. And then we would pick the plural form of the verb. Well, that would be incorrect because books can't be the subject of this sentence because it's part of a prepositional phrase. So that's why this is so crucial. Okay, the next rule that we discussed in the earlier video was that sometimes the verb comes before the subject. So we have to make sure that we find the subject and still match it to the verb, even though that verb comes first. This often happens when a sentence starts with here or there, or it happens whenever we have a question that starts with like who, what, which, or when. So let's look at an example of that. There were or was so many rules posted at the public swimming pool. Well, just like before, let's look for any prepositional phrases before we start looking for that subject. I see the word at is a preposition, so let's cross out at the public swimming pool. So that leaves us with there was so many rules posted or there were so many rules posted. So what is the subject of the sentence? Well, the subject is not there, so what does that leave us with? Where's the next noun? Rules. So rules is the subject of this sentence. Is rules singular or plural? Well, it ends in S, so this is plural. So we need the plural form of the verb, which is were. There were so many rules posted at the public swimming pool. Okay, in the next video, we will look at 2 more rules for making sure that our subject-verb agreement is correct.